My favorite herb, ashwagandha. In fact, I thought about starting with ashwagandha today. We were all here from different time zones, different climatic zones. For me, it's a 3 hours difference. Seattle time, I started about 4 a.m., 3 a.m. this morning when I woke up. Then my feeding, my lunch, my dinner is all 3 hours off. Somebody thought I was in Seattle, called me about Seattle 9 o'clock time. It was midnight here, so I woke up and never go over to sleep because I was in Seattle time again. So ashwagandha is one of those herbs I can talk about an hour, but I know I have a lot of herbology to cover. It's a perennial herb, grows around the fields. If you look at it, what we use is herbs, leaves, and fruits. Ashwagandha is considered a rasayana. You will hear this word over and over again. Rasayanas are the herbs which has no limitations. There's no age it cannot be given to. You can give it to a child, you can give it to 120 years old if they're still around, or anybody in between. There's no side effect, dose-related or any otherwise. I have used, looks like my practice should be ashwagandha only practice. Part of it is that I have a lot of geriatric patients. I see a lot of rehab patients. I see a lot of patients coming from neurosurgeons who have surgeries done, osteoarthritis, or old cognitive functions. Rasayana is one of those things which help to rejuvenate, and again, anti-aging. They are good adaptogens. What are adaptogens? They help you to cope with the stress of any type. It's supposed to help with the promoting of the health and longevity. It's like a Siberian ginseng. Not the same family though. Main ingredient of ashwagandha are going to be alkaloids, bidanaloids, which we normally focus on. If we buy and sell an ashwagandha herbs, we would like to make sure it is at least 67% bidanaloids on it. If I'm correct, Sushma, on it? Yeah. It has an anabolic steroids. When we talk about anabolic steroids, mostly, primarily, dihydroandrostenedione. That means testosterone-promoting hormones. These are the anabolic steroids athletes will use, which is commercially made chemicals. These products contain no side effect to these things. I have used ashwagandha for building of immunity. A lot of patients who are immunocompromised, I will put them on it right away. It treats anemia, and at the end of this thing, I will talk about a few cases, or actually, let me save until the last section here. Inflammation. It's used in conjunction with the chemotherapy without any contradiction to chemotherapy. I have a lot of herbs, and I work with a lot of good oncologists in the town who are very open-minded to complementary therapies. I have never had any oncologist say, please don't do that because we're going to do radiation. Versus their supplements, they can stop, say, no, we're not going to use curcumin, we're not going to use this antioxidants. Nobody has ever said no to ashwagandha. It helps with the stress. I'm talking about stress of any magnitude, physical, emotional. We have had a family situation with the family kid's death and a whole family got through with ashwagandha. Males will love it. It's a good male aphrodisiac product because of dihydroandrostenedione. It is a rasayana, like I said, it's an anti-aging therapy. It's a good adaptogen, good immunomodulator, has a multiple anti-inflammatory properties. Diuretic, sedative. It's very smooth. If you take any sleeping pills, you don't get up and fresh in the morning. You're very foggy. Well, if you take an ashwagandha, You don't have a fog. I've tried melatonin. I've tried homeopathic product. I still felt I was foggy. Ashwagandha does not give you a fog in the morning, and it gives you really good sleep. It is antibacterial, antifungal, amibicidal, pretty much protozoan thing. And I talked about cancer. It's good anti-cancer activity. My slides are a little bit mixed up, so I'm going to start with this thing. This was a trial done at the CRI, Central Research Institute, New Delhi, and it was a double-blinded study of 101 patients. They were using ashwagandha and placebo. They used and utilized the parameters set by Alex, Comfort, and Hollingworth. I don't know what those parameters are, but we will mention that. It says they were measuring the hair graying score. They were estimated by melanin content of the hair. I'm pretty sure somebody cut the hair, put in a microscope to see how black they look and how gray they look. Nail calcium levels, obviously they clip the nails, analyze the nail calcium. Systolic and diastolic blood pressure. RBC count, ESR. What ESR is? Erythrocytic sedimentation rate. We don't use this terminology or test in small animals a lot, in horses and cattle and humans. If you have an infection or inflammation, if you draw whole blood and let it sit in a standard tube, the RBCs will settle down. And if they settle down fast enough, that means there's a possibility of infection or inflammation. I'm not sure they do in horses or not, but I used to do a lot in the cattle too. But I've never used this ESR sedimentation test rate in the dogs and cats. Serum cholesterol and seated stature. Old men's always curve up like a C. They don't sit straight. What they saw was definitely increased seated stature. They were sitting more upright. They have more darker hair. I should use them myself. Increased hemoglobin and RBC count. Excellent for anemia. Lower cholesterol and ESR. Decreased albumin and nail calcium. So the older people have brittle, thick nails, and they have a lot more calcium in it. And obviously the males, they have looked at enhanced sexual performance. It's an excellent hematinic again. That means it promotes the red blood cells. Contains iron, which is the one with reason it helps with anemia. Some free amino acids, glycine, valine, tyrosine, proline, and L-alanine. We talked about it decreases the ESR activity, which means it probably was very potent antibacterial product. As I mentioned, it's very safe for long-term use. In Ayurveda, which is folklore use, they've been used for multiple reasons. Anthrax is probably not heard, and we don't want to talk about it in the United States because it's considered not a common word you want to talk about. But in third world countries, someplace it is probably still there. Arthritis, asthma, bronchitis, cancer, candida, cold, cough, cystitis. Before I get off the sidetrack, a lot of interstitial cystitis, male cats or female cats, which you cannot pinpoint why they're peeing blood. And it's stress-related, clients leaving, suitcases are packed up, all of a sudden cat can't pee. And there's a blood and they go culture and nothing is better. They got treated with antibiotic, they got treated with the buprenorphine, they got treated with something else, cat's better, or Metacam and Buprenex, they're fine. Next time, 3 weeks later, client's ready to move again, and the cat does the same thing. So after 3 visits to ER and multiple visits to a traditional veterinarian, they want to come back and say, can you do something holistically? Ashwagandha has been a lifesaver for me. I know I didn't want to talk about it, but I know with my old age I might forget that, so I was going to touch on this thing. Debility, diarrhea, dropsies is not a common terminology used, but it's what we use in human side. Hypertension, nausea, psoriasis. I think I've not seen anybody who has a better results with other products. With the product other than ashwagandha and a few other products I have, it's not a common terminology and disease we use in veterinary medicine, but I have had people who have come to me. The story was my daughter was 2 years old and got a vaccine and lost all her hair. And this pediatrician was recommended to be one of my clients. It was also Indian origin guy, very nice guy. So I went to see him, and hey, what happened? Why did she lose all the hair from the vaccine? And very nice, but he was hiding his nails. He would not, it would like, he says, and I don't know, I forgot his name, but he says, please, this is nothing, this is psoriasis. And I said, is it really psoriasis? He says, yeah. He says, why don't you do something about it? He says, believe me, I've done everything. He says, have you looked into this thing? He says, no. I said, okay. And 2 days later, I said, I think we could do something about it. We should. There's something. And 2 days later or 3 days later, he was in my clinic, standing outside. And I said, I'm sorry to barge in, but I'm so desperate, and I know I deal with the kids, and I always am so scared. This is my living. When they see my nails, they were down here to the nubs. It looked so bad. So we had a product on neem coal with Ayush, and we don't sell it anymore. I don't know why. And ashwagandha, and I gave him those two things. And 3 weeks later, he came and picked up, and he says, do you want to see it? I said, well, good. So we did about 2 or 3 months of these products. He would come and stop by and pick up, and I let him have it. I didn't charge money because he was my kid's pediatrician. He was a very nice guy. Totally healed. And he was almost emotional and teary when he left last time, saying, I don't know how can I thank you guys. But again, it's excellent products with psoriasis, rheumatism, skin problem, and tumors. We talked about it. So there's another, this is where my slide got mixed up there. Ashwagandha, people have so much readily availability of this thing. And when I talk to them, hey, we're already doing an ashwagandha. How much this one is not effective? I don't think I believe in ashwagandha. Problem with all the herbs is you need to harvest them right, you need to procure them right, you need to process them right, you need to preserve them right. It's not an old red wine which you preserve long enough will get more potent or more beneficial or more expensive. They lose their essential oils, they will lose all their things. Powder herb-wise, if it's a good quality product you want to use, but like I said, there's no dosing on it, and this is off my time. If it's a big 30, 40-pound dog, you can use about 500 milligram to 1,000 milligram. For cats, you can use 250 to 500 or lower or high. I have used these parameters in my clinics, and it has been wonderful for me.